I didn't, being pastoral, I was trying not to ask too many questions. I'll know more about this.
Keep putting candles in there.
That was my
first reaction.
There's so many people here that are planting incense.
Yeah. Or exactly, that it works.
Good morning. Good morning. Now I'm nervous, there's too many people here. Well,
More coming.
Awesome. Glad that you're here with us this morning on this nice, beautiful, cool, crisp, and amazing autumnal dawn. Well, it's a little after dawn now, but anyway, I want to just give you a couple of announcements as we get started. One of them is to just say, I know that Chuck sent out a little tidbit about this, but as is the tradition in a lot of progressive congregations, at some point after the pastoral figure has been around for a few months, we usually invite you over to our house to see how human we are. That's at least the trend.
What?
Anyway, yeah, I know. I don't think that's too big of a problem to you, but you'd be surprised how people have acted in the past. Oh, wow, you have that? You're a pastor? Yes, I have wine on the shelf. But anyway, we use it at communion. But anyway, so this is on November the 19th. After the service, of course, it's completely voluntary. And I know that we live a little far away. It's in St. Anthony Village. I certainly would be happy to share the address, but it was also on the MailChimp that Chuck sent out. And we'll probably send out another little notice too. But after service, we will, I'm sure, still have a few snacks. But I'll probably rush out and get there and prepare for those of you that might want to join us for some treats, because that's my favorite thing. So I'm excited about inviting you all into our home. Another little announcement, and I don't want to drag these on, is that after speaking with a few people after a brain child that I apparently birthed, On Friday, December the 22nd, I know that's a little far out, we have started to develop this idea of having a solstice service, which would be kind of like a post-solstice service, because solstice is on the 21st, but that's kind of the point of the service, and it's, if anybody's ever heard of the Festival of Lessons and Carols, in the Anglican tradition, a lot of times they do it on NPR. That particular service was adapted from an ancient Celtic tradition, so we will be kind of experimenting around with that. It's at 7 o'clock on Friday night on the 22nd. And I'm thinking that we're going to have it here, but we're not quite sure
I
yet.
haven't confirmed it because he's been out of town.
Yeah, sure. But if not, don't worry about it, because Kathy and Jim will open their home to us. So more to follow. We wanted to just block off the time and the date on December the 22nd, Friday the 7th. And I'm pretty certain there's going to be treats involved someday. Because I'll be there, so there'll be treats. Does anybody else have an announcement that you'd like to share?
Just if you think of announcements that you'd like to share, if you send them to me by like Tuesday or Wednesday, I can get them in the MailChimp, and then that'll shorten the time that we have to verbally do it on Sunday.
And you're Chuck.
And I'm Chuck.
And in the MailChimp addendum that Chuck sent out, there was information about my upcoming concert next week with Bella Luna Chorus, and you can ask me about it later, and I can give you more info. Two performances, Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you.
And for those of you that are new, if you'd like to be on our email list, just sign up on the sheet over there, your email address.
Thank you. Anything else?
Just a question, would the solstice event be in the morning or the evening?
It's 7 p.m. in the evening.
It's PM.
So we're thinking, weather permitting, and wherever, we're thinking about putting some like little luminaries outside, like a candlelight service. So it's amusing.
We need to go somewhere where people can sing.
Okay, if there aren't any other announcements before we begin our service, I know we're going to begin with a prelude. During our opening words, this is probably more of a challenge for me than it is any of you, but I needed to be knowledgeable of the directions, because this is only as you're able. While we're going to stand for it and we're going to face in different directions during parts of the opening words, so we're going to start in the east. I have verified with a compass on my iPhone that this is east, and then we'll go south, and then west and north. Oh wow, I got it right. Okay, good. So all you really have to do is kind of watch me, but I just wanted to not startle anyone when we start embodying some spirituality in this congregation. Okay, all right. We're glad that you're here. Let us center our hearts and minds as we prepare for this time together. As you're able, please rise and also realize that the words are on the screen. So you don't have the advantage of having a printed out 18-point font script in front of you. So I will just be the person that faces that direction, and you all can channel your energy through me. How about that? All right. So let us rise as we're able, and I will turn toward the east, toward where the sun rises, and I will call to the air.
The air gives us breath and inspiration. Welcome to the sanctuary, delightful air.
I will turn to the south toward the fire of the sun during the coming winter.
Fire brings us light, warmth, action, and transformation. Welcome to the sanctuary, holy fire.
I will turn toward the west, where we beckon life-giving water into our midst.
Blessed water, give us depth of emotion and help us reflect on our ongoing growth. Welcome to the sanctuary.
Finally, I will turn to the north, where we honor Mother Earth from the core to the topsoil and beyond.
The earth brings us foundation, balance, and wisdom. We welcome you, O earth, thanking you for providing sustenance, rest, and recovery.
And now let us turn toward the chalice, where all people and all things are called to be in unity in our vast diversity from all directions and places together. We call to each other
in the spirit that kindles this flame, and we honor and remember those who have passed into the mystery. Their brightness lives on in our vision, their courage lives on in our commitments, and their love continues to bless the world through us.
A little bit of different liturgy this morning. I hope that it was something that brought some meaning to you. So we gather together as a community of seekers to honor the interdependence of life, to respect the dignity of all, and honor the land we walk humbly upon. We are blessed with a space, a community, and opportunities to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to live out our dream of a world community of peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Please remain standing and join me in the opening hymn, which is for all the saints, number 103.
I will play through it.
Kathleen will play through it. She and I know this one, but she'll play through it once because it may be unfamiliar to you.
There's one down there. Are you?
I'm good. I have a blown up version. seated.
We did all right.
I said that because in all the churches I've ever served, if you don't do that around All Saints Day, you'll get fired. So I learned that the hard way. At this point in the service, we are going to enter into our time of joys and concerns. So we invite you to come forward and light a candle from the chalice flame. Share a joy or a concern or both briefly. And you may also be silent if you choose. At the end, I will light a candle for those with unspoken joys and concerns.
We weren't here last week because we were in Columbus at a convention for folk music, which is music genre that grew up around like fandom conventions and kind of nerdy sci-fi spaces. So had fun singing and listening to music, and unexpectedly ran into a friend there that we hadn't seen in a while, so that was great, and got to visit another friend in the area too.
Our neighbor got some trees taken down this week, which is sort of sad, but it's also a joy because the one that was like right by our house was infested with the ash borer is down, and I don't have to be concerned about it coming down on our house anymore.
Oops, your candles.
Yeah, mine's still there.
Yeah, it's still going.
All right.
All right, church is over.
No, we've got the energy
I
now.
know.
I'm going to do a real quick one, and it's kind of trivial, but as a huge Beatles fan, I was kind of impressed and enjoyed the process that they went through to extract John Lennon's voice from an old recording he had just had on cassette tape, and they extracted his voice, and they two surviving Beatles made a song out of it, which is not the greatest Beatles song ever, but it's just cool that it happened, and it kind of touched me the way that it did it.
Those who know me know I never come up here. Never do this. And it's just, I just have one comment. Let's not take sides on the Israeli-Palestinian thing. Just not take sides. That's all I have to say.
For a good outcome.
This is a big joy. Found out. Our daughter was driving down the highway and there was a roll of carpet in the highway. And she managed to survive. So that was thanks to one of those really heavy cars. And she maneuvered it really well, so just found out about that. So I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Well, before I light the final candle, I have the unhappy duty to share with you that I received a call this morning that Barbara May lost her mother. And we spent a brief moment in talking, and I intend on speaking with her this evening if she has the time and energy to do that. And then we'll find out. I'll make sure that Kathy gets the information, and then anybody interested could follow up with us if you want to know more about the arrangements. I don't know any details because we didn't have that time. And now I'll light a final candle for all those joys and concerns that remain unspoken. May we know that whatever befalls us in life, we are held in the loving embrace of this community. And now we say together for those with unspoken joys and concerns.
We hold you in our hearts.
I invite you to listen to these words. I adapted this from another prayer, and in doing so, I reread it and realized I had a couple of typographical errors, so they may or may not appear on the screen. Thanks, Jim. Please hear these words. As the wheel of the year turns yet again betwixt the autumnal equinox and the winter solstice, the fires burn, the moon bleeds red, the trees are hushed, and the ground is spread with the feast for the dearly departed. Our eyes shine bright as we call the quarters, and the divine is beckoned into our midst from all directions. The moon so pale, the sky covered with clouds, to pull aside the veil between here and beyond. We invite and honor our dear ones from the mystery, our arms wide and open-hearted, as we feel in our soul the wisdom and memory of our loved ones. We commemorate the Day of the Dead in celebration with fire and drums, which are a potent combination for ancestral invocation. The fires in our hearts roar as the autumnal light grows increasingly short, and we honor the energy together that causes trees to cast shadows on this fellowship of the new year within the wheel. We join hand in hand with unearthly spirits, our eyes aglow and hearts warm from their energy. The earthly plane brings us stability and comfort as the wheel of the year groans and turns again towards the next spoke of the mystery. It is interesting that I received the call that I received this morning that Barbara's mother passed away, because the beginning of the sermon, or presentation as we call it, is about my mother. So the Spirit does weird things sometimes. When I returned to Minnesota from my mother's funeral in 2004, I was in my last year of seminary at United. It was a very shocking thing to have happened. She was only 61. It was very untimely and unexpected. So I was looking for very obvious reasons, no matter how old your mother is when she passes, there is a ton of grief and things to work through. So I was looking for ways to find comfort through it all. And so I, in my really small seminary apartment, had this wonderful picture window. I think they built them that way because the light gets so low in the winter and the apartment's so small, you kind of just need a little extra light. And I sat down on my little tiny love seat by myself, and I just started to let myself grieve, because you know, when you're at the funeral and with family and all that, you do, and then of course I'm in seminary, so they expect me to be kind of pastoral, and like I didn't get to grieve. So I sat there for a few minutes, and this is like kind of around this time, it was the end of October, I looked out the window and I saw something moving, coming towards the window. And it got bigger and bigger, but it was going slowly and methodically. And all of a sudden, not 10 feet from my picture window was this bald eagle. It just started to sail by. And I mean, this is only about 20 feet above the ground. That's kind of unusual for a bald eagle.
Right.
To just soar around above the trees that were outside the window and just stayed there for about 5 minutes, just easily draping along. And so it begins that now every time I see a bald eagle soaring, I see my mother. At this time in the season of the Wheel of the Year, as well as in All Saints, All Souls Day, Days of the Dead, and many other holidays throughout all world religions, indigenous religions, I shouldn't say all, but most indigenous religions, there is a time during the calendar year, whatever their calendar has been, that they stop to commemorate the loss of loved ones, honoring ancestors and spirits of those who have gone on, and to just allow ourselves time for that need for grieving. Because, as I already said, I had a hard time doing all that at my mother's funeral, and grief never really truly goes all the way away. I mean, I know I've been through the whole, master's degree in psychology and know the stages of grief. And that's all well and good, but nothing's ever really that linear. It's like you just kind of go in and out of grief. And it doesn't matter that my mother passed away in 2004. There are times and moments when I just need to grieve again because her memory is still so much very alive. And I do things like, as many of you were here, I shared with you some of my apple preserves that my mother's recipe guided me towards so I could do some canning. Those are ways that we can remember those loved ones who've gone on before. And in the Wheel of the Year, in the earth-based traditions, this is a specific time, and really is around between the night of October the 31st to the November the 1st, but the date is not absolutely important. This is the time in many pagan traditions and other indigenous traditions around the world that it is said that the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. And this is where we get all of the spooky nature of Halloween, and that's all fun. But I think it's important for us all to stop and think about all of those who've gone on before. And it's not like we have to do that with a depth of sadness. I mean, I know that you all have done the Days of the Dead. I can't say it in Spanish. I speak French, and so I don't know it. But it's like Dia de something.
Dia de Muertes.
Thank you. And when we do those kinds of things, we get sometimes called out for doing cultural misappropriation and all of those. And so one of my ideas is that we should honor the diversity of the ways in which I think probably not coincidentally, so many traditions around the world stop for a moment and honor our ancestors, those who've gone on. No matter how difficult it may be, no matter how problematic you may have had sometimes with your family, I know I certainly did, growing up Baptist, can only imagine. But one of the pieces of all of it for me is I try to remember those things that are really, really good, because those are the things that stick. I don't ignore the bad. I don't suggest that we do that. But those memories, like cooking in the kitchen with my mom. In fact, of course I always reference movies because I love movies. And one of my favorite movies, even though theologically I'm not quite with it, is The Shack. I don't know, I read the book. The book is kind of better. The theology is kind of weird. But one of my favorite scenes, I can say that in your church, it's kind of weird and it's okay to live with cognitive dissonance. But there's a part where God is portrayed by this black woman, and the man is in the kitchen making biscuits with God. And that, I also remember my mother. Not that my mother was God, but there was a light of the divine that shone through my mother that I have never seen from any other person. And these liminal moments of light are what empower us to keep going and living and being and remembering and never stop loving. We can perpetuate that love. As we were reading and singing, I see the word love pop up, and sometimes when I write things and plan things, I'm looking for other things and I don't see the coincidental nature of the words that the Spirit has put in there without my knowledge and my permission. But it's like, wow. The power of remembering those we loved and still love helps us perpetuate a new and evolving and amazing type of love together as a community. This place is special. Not to give anything away, but this solstice service on December the 22nd, after I shared it with a few and then shared it with Barbara, who's going to help me lead it, it's taken on a life of its own. And I'm thinking about all the different songs we can sing and all these wonderful things. And I was just sitting listening to a song and thinking, wow, that's it. That needs to be there. And of course, the core of it is love. Because this community is one where I have experienced the most extravagant love I've ever experienced from any congregation ever. And I'm not doing that to toot your horn. I really mean that. Well, that was real southern just then, wasn't I? Not toot your horn. But anyway, I am who I am. And this love, this message that we have, comes from before us. We embody it on and on. And it's almost like we have an obligation to stop and remember the kind of love that brought us into being, that perpetuates us, and then to give that extravagant, radical love to every single human being that we meet and encounter. And part of it is the actual stopping and doing it, the actual ritual nature. We hunger for ritual. We hunger for connection. We hunger for not just looking backward, but then understanding what that means looking forward. Another favorite movie, and I don't apologize for this, I love Disney. And I love Mulan, not the new one. Of course, I'm just that old now, I can say not the new one. The old one, the animated version of Mulan. If you've never seen it, see it. I highly recommend. But it's where this young lady is frustrated that she can't go out and fight for her people because she is a woman. And that's the core of the beginning of the story, but one of my favorite scenes, besides the fact that the little dragon is kind of cool, is when she sits down at the table with her ancestors. And this is one of those things that evolves out of Mohism, which is an ancient Chinese type of philosophy that gave birth to Confucianism and Taoism, where they perpetually, in their very being, every single day, honor their ancestors and listen to the love that had been passed on to them. So the direction that I take this is that we love love. And the rituals that we come together and do every Sunday morning and every time we get together are exceedingly important. And as we move forward and think about the rituals that we do and have done, and think about the past and the traditions, and then rework, like I've reworked the service script and I've reworked it again. It's never going to be perfect. But we do those things that bring us the joy through the love that we've experienced so that we can share the joy and the love with each other. Our new people that come and join us, the people that are on Zoom, the people that are joining us also on live stream. I went on all my social media and shared that today, so we should have a few extra people. All of these people are a part of this body in this moment. or in whatever moment they're watching the recording. And the love that we embody here, even if we don't have the words in front of us when we're turning the different directions, the embodiment that we bring to it is so very powerful. So I invite us as we move forward and continue to grow and change together and nurture each other and love each other and reach out into the community and help people beyond these walls and beyond this group, that we never forget the love that bore us, that came before us, the faithful people, not just our families, but the faithful people who fought for the perpetuation of the faith, who were brave enough to say, wait a minute, I'm not that, I'm this. Maybe that makes me a universalist. And I'm going to live in my truth and offer that truth to anyone who happens to believe similarly so that we can share love together. So let's go together, let's be together, let's grow together, let's love continually together as we honor the past and transform the future. Blessed be.
Blessed.
Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
So amazing.
I love that piece.
This is the time in the service where we reflect on the thought of the day, the thoughts of the day. So let us reflect.
really related to what you said about not having time to grieve during the funeral kind of thing. And I remember when Chuck's mom passed away down in Kansas, we had to, arrange to get down there. It was right before New Year's Day that we found out that she had died the day before. And it was just so many things, and it was his mother, so I wanted to make sure that he had time to grieve and he had time to be with his siblings, and he did what he needed to do. And I was taking care of the kids and logistics and all of that sort of thing. And I missed a couple of days of work because I was out. And when I got back from work after all the thing was done, I sat in my office and all of my students had written a card, a sympathy card for me. And it just melted me away. I hadn't grieved at all, really. I mean, you go through those motions, but you hadn't really felt it until then. And so I could completely relate.
Yes, I spared everyone the details of the bawling that I did for the next hour after I saw the eagle.
Yeah.
I immediately thought of my mom's funeral also, and there's nothing more, what's the word, freeing and helpful to the spirit is laughter. And some of the greatest laughter I've ever experienced has been around funerals, either during, sometimes inappropriately, but often afterwards when we're gathering at so-and-so's house for the treats or whatever.
Cathartic?
Yes, cathartic. And we laughed so much after my mom's funeral. My siblings are kind of spread out, and there were some that she had never met yet. And a couple of strains of my brother and sister are super conservative Christian, and we're kind of going down and thinking, oh, there's going to be...
How are we going to do this?
But it was just great. And it was so warm, it was like 80 or 78 or something in January,
Wow.
southern Kansas. It's unseasonable.
You reminded me that I have to think about my ancestors and what the good things that they gave to me, especially, courage, the idea that you can try to solve problems. I mean, it's worth a try. Even if there's little hope, it's worth a try. So those are two things that I thank them for.
In other countries around the world, they honor their ancestors, regularly, where we don't so much in this country, but we should.
We value youth too much. I'm not saying I do, but as a society.
I taught English at a university in Mexico, in Yucatan, a couple hours inland from Cancun. I did that for a year after I retired. And it was the most wonderful experience of my life, except for my kids. Okay. And so in where I was in Valladolid, there was a huge Mayan influence, and the school I was at was a state school that had been only opened for a couple of years, and the rest of the city was a college town, but all private colleges. So we got the kids from the rural villages near Valladolid, and most of them, their first language was Mayan. And so when I came to studying or sharing their ritual around death, around the 31st, the 30th, and so on. The Mayans call it Manal Pashan, and it's an 8-day celebration. And so what they do is they make altars out of the branches, and chrysanthemums are there, and they make an altar, and it has 3 levels. And they put those in a park, and they're all next to each other. And on the levels, on the lowest level is things to honor the youngest who died. And then the next is for the middle-aged people who died, and then the top layer is for the elderly who died. And they have pictures, they have food, they have candles. Oh, it was just unbelievable to be in this park that was huge. And all of these altars lined up next to each other. You could go down the rows. And I thought, what a beautiful way to acknowledge your grief among community, which is not something we do here, ever. And and people would talk, and there would be laughter, and they wanted you to see who they were honoring. It was the most fulfilling piece of my time in Mexico. It was, it just is still with me, and I wish I could go there every year for that. And that's just one, it wasn't like their Day of the Dead, but other parts of Mexico celebrated, I think, a little bit differently, but that's where they did what they did. And so your grief, everyone would acknowledge your grief that you've ever gone through as you honored theirs. And so you knew every year that would happen. There would be a time when you can share your grief with your community. Unbelievable.
I'm glad you put it that, said that, honoring grief.
Yeah,
We just don't.
yeah, we hide our grief.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's something we do by ourselves.
But the eagle coming to you, I mean, there's animal communication. It knew what you needed and it was responding to
Oh, there's a lot of winged ancestors out there.
you. Yeah, right.
Definitely.
Including chickens. I think it's important to say also that they did it every year. So part of, I'm not really a huge fan of sermon series or anything like that, but part of what I'm hoping that we can do as a growing congregation is to think about what can we do next year around this time to create a ritual for us, but also an expansive one that invites more people so that we can honor our grief and their grief together. So this is hopefully a ball that begins rolling, doesn't gather much moss. Well, we can certainly continue our reflections during my favorite time, the treats. Thank you. And I couldn't figure out where to fit this in the service. And of course, as the luck may have it, I decided to fit it in here, and Josh walked out of the room. So people are going to have to tell him that I said this. But when Alice asked me one day, how many of those things you have? She's talking about the stoles. Josh commissioned this new stole, and I decided that since this is a really important holiday to me, if you couldn't tell, that I would wear it. And it's reversible, so the other side I'll wear on the solstice service.
Nice.
So I just think that that's pretty awesome to say. So somebody tell him I said that. So.
It's recorded.
Oh yeah, it's recorded. I have proof. Thanks, Jim. As you are willing and able, please rise and join me in our closing hymn, the title of which is probably no surprise at this point.
I will play through it before we
What
sing.
number?
because this is
Oh, I'm sorry, 91.
91.
I forget that you don't have the big
It's up
giant
there.
banner. And so now as we go forth, not just to the treats, but to the world that we live, I invite you to reflect and grieve as you need, and to recognize and honor the grieving of others, even as we struggle with conflicts all over the world and even in our own communities. Let's take our love that is so rich and deep in this community and spread it far and wide, using words only when necessary. May it be so. This is the image of
I didn't realize that, but I thought, what a nice.
Thank you.
I wonder if you heard it, because, you know, you really want to close the
Image of the dog is behind here.
I'm sure it's
Yeah, I didn't notice that. I didn't make that connection, but I just thought, what a nice.
That's beautiful. Who knew?
It'll stay a while.
Oh, thank you. So we have proof. We have proof.
Colors don't stay.
I love that so much. I'm a big fan.
I'm a Dolly Parton fan.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully we don't have to
Now that you bring it up, you will.
Yeah.
I love it, yeah. That's good stuff. The many emails encourage me. Yeah.